you guys to LearningWithClindarden.com, and of course the House of Biceps. All right, guys, I'm sitting here. It's actually quite late at night, and me and Harley are out here training. It's well after midnight, and I was gonna make a really neat scripted out video for you guys. And the more I thought about it, the more I just wanted to sit down and kind of talk with you guys a little bit. It's March Madness, watching the NCAA tournament a little bit. Not so much because Kentucky is no longer in the tournament. Breaking my heart, guys. But I was watching some of the March Madness stuff on TV, and I saw an old client on TV. And it really sparked an old memory that I had and an old conversation that I had with him. This guy was, I remember him being a superstar in the NCAA basketball tournament, college basketball tournament. If you're not familiar with what that is, best teams are playing each other, and I remember him being an absolute standout superstar. And then I remember him being drafted in the first round of the NBA draft. And I really didn't hear from him or anything about him, and I wouldn't have. I really only cared about him playing in the tournament because I was thinking, well, if Kentucky plays this guy, how are we going to match up against him? That's the only reason I really cared. And then after that season, I didn't care anymore. A couple of years go by, and I get an email, and I don't remember how many years ago this is. I didn't live at this house, and I don't remember if it was before or after my oldest son. My oldest son's 16, so somewhere in that area. I remember getting an email with his name and thinking, what the heck? What? Come on, guys. I mean, can't you think of a more original fake name than this guy's name, to email me? And then after emailing back and forth, I realized this was really him. Basically, what had happened is he had gotten his contract with the NBA team. And even if you get a contract, doesn't mean you're going to be sitting on the bench. Doesn't mean you're going to be playing. He had a series of knee issues. And I guess he had them a little bit in college, but we had hoped they were done with. He had hoped they were done with. And so did his team, and they just weren't. And they continued to get worse. So he didn't get to play with his NBA team, and he got shifted all around to some other countries in association with an NBA team. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give away exactly who it is. That's not fair to him. But he contacted me, and he was in a situation where he needed to get back on the court, and he felt like his time was running out. His years were getting shorter and shorter, his opportunities to get back on the basketball court. And he was looking for answers, solutions, what to do, what he could do to help him get back on the court. So we talked quite a bit about a series of things that he had done through his life. I'm using caution about what I want to talk about. But as far as healing his knee issues, we talked about the concept of an ace card. And I stopped at the store today to pick up a deck of cards. And the stores here sell them in America would be 2 packs because of the games they commonly play here. But I remember having a conversation with him, and I stopped off at the store. Actually, I had a deck of cards. I had a Magic deck of cards. I looked everywhere for my Magic deck of cards tonight to share with you guys, and I couldn't find them. So these are just a regular deck of cards with no magic tricks. And what I did was I pulled out the ace cards, and I said, if you're looking at, using anabolics, peptides, performance-enhancing substances, we call those your ace cards. So I took this deck, and I dropped one here, of course. But the deck that I bought tonight has 8 ace cards, where the deck I had back then only had 4. So if you're going to use a performance-enhancing substance, that's an ace card that you're throwing. You're putting it out there. You can only flip that ace card once. So if you want to stay, whatever it is, drug-free, whatever you want to call it, once you flip that ace card, you can never say that again. Your body's not. Even if you go back and you've been off for so many years, your body's not. You've already flipped that card. You are no longer drug-free. Your body's going to make drastic changes Your performance is going to make a drastic increase, but it's not going to make that level of increase ever again by flipping that same card. Even if you stand on that card, even if I go over here and buy another deck, heck, this deck has another ace of clubs. So I can't just take a second ace of clubs, throw it down, and double down and make double that leap of progress again. It's never going to happen. You get to throw that ace card once. Now, there's lots of things you can do. So I've got a ace of spades. I can throw that ace card down. That could be something else, whether it's peptides or, I don't know, maybe it's, maybe that is simply hiring a nutritionist to cook all of your meals and have them delivered everywhere you go. And I've done that with Major League Baseball players. That's huge with those guys, is they barely eat. Forcing these guys to make sure that wherever they land for their next game, and they play a lot, wherever they land when they get to their hotel room, that there's food waiting for them in their room. There was someone there with food waiting for them at all times to get the food in. That's a big ace card, but you can only flip that. I've got this person waiting for me with food card once. So with him, almost said his name again. With him, he threw down the ace card of using a performance-enhancing substance. And we use a lot of different peptides. And remember, we're going back almost 20 years here. The knowledge of peptides and healing was very, very small, which is why he contacted me, because I was the only person talking about it. I was one of the few people in the world who had any experience with these healing peptides back then. So we worked with the best knowledge that we had at the time. And we did everything we could to get his knees feeling better. And we did. We absolutely did. Just from the peptides. And remember, I'm a basketball fan. I like watching basketball. But I don't know much about coaching basketball, strength training for basketball, the kind of stuff, the conditioning work they need to do for basketball. I mean, I played basketball, but I was a little kid. Totally different than, I wasn't even a high school kid, much less, him being in college, in the NBA and beyond. So I didn't know what all to do. And he's already thrown down a couple of ace cards. You can't throw them down again. And his biggest fear was he got to a point that he felt he had thrown down every ace card that he had. And he was lost. Had nothing else to do. And you know what? I see this with people all the time. Not so much with clients, because I'm always guiding my clients, but with friends. And I've been in the sport of strongman for more than 20 years. It's 1 o'clock in the morning and I just finished a training session. I'm still neck deep in the sport of strongman. And I've seen this so many times where people don't know what else to do. So they start taking those ace cards and throwing them down. That got them a little farther. They got closer to nationals. Well, take another ace card and I'm going to throw it down on top of that. They get to nationals and do really, really well. Well, I need to win nationals. Throw it down. Maybe they win nationals and maybe they turn pro. It's happened a lot with people that I've worked with. They turn pro. What next? They used all of their aces just to turn pro. Like my client used all of his aces just to get his knees fixed once he had already made the NBA. What does he do now? The biggest fear once you've thrown down all of your aces is that you have no more major cards to play. And that's true. You have no more aces. And even this deck had 8 ace cards in it, which is a whole freaking lot of ace cards to be able to throw. But, hey, we probably all have that if we search hard enough. 8 ace cards that we can throw at some point in our lives. And the earlier that you throw those ace cards, well, you don't get to throw them again later on in your career. The big thing was he didn't know what else to do. I think most athletes, powerlifters, strongmen, weightlifters, once they've thrown that ace card and they've thrown another one, what else to do? I've done everything that I can. I've taken every big risk that I can. Time to quit. What we discovered was, if we had 8 ace cards, we also had a bunch of other cards in the deck. And while, sitting here, while the 2s may not be worth a whole lot, you still got 8 of them in here that you can throw down. There are a bunch of 8s. There are a bunch of jacks. Man, there's another 8. There's another queen. And let me ask you, what's worth more? 1 ace or a couple of jacks and a couple of queens? Man, you know what? If I've got to sit down and look at my deck and I've only got 8 aces, but man, I've got a stack of kings and queens and jacks and 9s, and even the occasional 2. Those were the things that he learned in fundamentals when he was in middle school playing basketball, when he was in high school, when he went to college, the fundamentals that the coach was yelling at him. That's what he forgot. And all those 2s that add up. And then every once in a while you find something with your nutrition that's a 7. And you find an exercise in the gym that's a 5. And you add that 5 and that 7 and together, and you know what? It's more than an ace. And you got a bunch of them. You got all kinds of combinations sitting here in the deck. All you have to do is stand back and realize everything that you know and everything that you've learned through your entire life. And just start stacking cards. Just start putting them down. So that's what he did. He made it back on the court. He made it back to the field. And I've seen lots of strong men, lots of power lifters give up after they've thrown all their ace cards and not realize that they've got lots of 2s and 5s and 7s and kings and queens and jacks and 10s and 9s still left in their deck. They just don't quite often realize that they're there, that they're important, or how to use them. That's what I want to say. Just because your ace cards are all on the table doesn't mean you're done. Just like my old client, just because they told him he was done in the NBA didn't mean he was. He didn't quit. Maybe one of his ace cards was reaching out to me. I mean, imagine that conversation he had with himself. I'm going to find this crazy guy from YouTube making videos. I'm going to contact him and see if he can help me. This is an NBA player whose career was over. Maybe that was one of his ace cards, contacting me. And then all that I did was make him realize he had a bunch of other cards still left in the deck, even after he used all those aces. And heck, seeing him on TV the other night sure made me smile. Maybe the NBA wasn't his final destination. But heck, it's a heck of a ride, ain't it? Enjoy, guys. See you next time.